Dan Deegan said he wouldn't be here this evening for conflict. First item is budget discussions, town clerk's office.
So, Mr. Chair, I forgot my book, so I'm going to have to ask someone else to give you the page number, but we are in tab 4.
Thank you. Looks like Wayne
Which is-
figured out 171.
161-15
161? 161
dash
15.
15.
Thank you.
It's the same that's online, right?
Same as online, yes.
Good evening, everybody. I'd like to start off this meeting, if I might, by introducing our new Assistant Town Clerk, Harriet Draper, is here with us.
Welcome.
And you probably read the paper, but so you'll know, she came to us from the Falmouth Clerk's Office, and she's, the best part of it is, she lived in Bourne for 8 years, I think, or plus or minus, so she's a resident of Bourne, and so she knows and has been up to date following all your activities. So, okay, the clerk budget. I'd like to start off by saying there are no capital requests for the clerk's office in FY '26. The salary portion of the clerk's budget are in accordance with the current contractual obligations. And there is an upgrade in one of our administrative assistance positions from a assistant clerk 2 to a grade 4, step 1, due to the added requirements of our office, and the person referred to is currently performing the duties and responsibilities of the position. I think the next thing was asked was the longevity. The longevity is no longer there because that was for Mary Fernandez, a former assistant town clerk. She was the only one who qualified for the longevity. And moving into the expense portion, under R&M office equipment, 5245, this is to pay for our maintenance. I had requested a timestamp, a much heavier timestamp. When people come in with big plans and everything, and the one that we have is, it's not really made for that. So I agree 100% with Marlene's recommendation. This should not be in the operation budget. It should be in another portion of capital items that do not meet the threshold of a capital item of $25,000. Overall, you can see our budget is up about $10,000 or 3.88% for FY '26. And those are the highlights of the clerk's office. If there's any questions, just, as you see, the other line items are level funded or requested at level funded.
And Barry also has the elections on the next page.
Okay, the next budget presenting tonight is election registration, and I understand some of the highlighted items I would like to present. Is basically 5342, and I want to explain that's printing of the town census forms and the street lists, et cetera. Also, the wages for the election workers, which is 5120. You'll notice that it's 30,000 for FY '26. We're down 60,000 because there's only one annual town election on May 20th of 2026. So that's why it's reduced by that amount of money. 5246, repair and maintenance. This is up because this is the maintenance contract on the 16 poll pads, that we have and we use at town meeting as well as during the elections. 5304, the programming consultants. Those funds are used to program the new voting machines, the image cast machines, as well as the automark machines. Everybody is aware of that. And the last one is 5343. That is a new line item that I had requested. And the reason for that is that I'd like to include a few dollars for the purpose of advertising legal notices, such as, register to vote, anything like that comes up related to election. So this is a new item, but we can certainly get away with the amount of money requested. Everything else stays the same. So, unless there are some questions?
Thank you. Any questions or comments?
One quick one. Hi, Barry. There's the hourly wage dropped down because we only have one election in May, but the communications for printing election kind of remains relatively flat. Is it,
Right.
do we still need to spend that much money in election?
Which one are you referring to?
Line 5342.
Okay. Yes, that's the printing of the ballots.
The ro-
The $10,000?
Okay, so that's just one election.
Yes. And I've had that 10,000 in that consistent over a period of time. But again, that's all conducive on the size of the ballot.
Okay.
Don't know, it varies from year to year. As a matter of fact, tomorrow we're releasing the nomination papers, so we'll see how it goes.
Thank you.
So the big difference with us, of course, is, from 95 to 30, because there's only one election.
Correct. One election.
Any additional questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thanks, there we go.
Welcome.
Okay, next, ISWIM.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Dan Barrett. I'm the General Manager of the Integrated Solid Waste Management Facility.
Dan, I'm sorry to interrupt. 1 second. This is an enterprise budget, so it'll be in tab 13. And it'll be titled landfill.
439-6 is the
Sorry.
page number.
Sorry, Dan.
Oh, that's okay. Threw me all off, Marlon.
I know, I'm sorry.
Just kidding. Start out by saying that
Can we?
a little disheveled this evening. We're getting our printing
on, Dan.
capabilities back. Oops, sorry.
Our pages
You
start
have it?
442.
Keep going.
We started.
Next tab.
It starts 442,
Oh, yeah, keep going.
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
it's, yeah.
439,
pages
6.
down.
Okay.
Sorry, could you repeat that?
439-6.
Yeah, it comes after the 442. Sorry about that.
Okay.
The top of the page will say landfill in the gray box.
It's only about 8 pages back.
Where
from
is
the
it?
very back.
Sorry, it's not. Oh, okay, thank you.
All right, sorry, Dan.
Oh, no, that's okay. I had an extra copy. I was gonna. Let's start out by saying we're a little disheveled this evening. We're getting our, thanks to Marlene and Erica and the staff over at Town Hall, we're getting our printing capabilities back up. We're very happy to say the scale is back up. We're back selling stickers. We're rolling. We're rolling. We're a little bit behind, but we're rolling. I'll give you guys the highlights of the changes this evening. Off the front page of the budget presentation on the website, you'll notice salaries are down almost $26,000. It's worth mentioning that. We say goodbye to 2 long-term employees, Jimmy Spears with 45 years with the town between DPW and ISWIM, and Charlie Ruggiero at 32 years. We were able to, with the help of police and HR, replace them with 2 very capable gentlemen that have a lot of solid waste experience, so it's working out well for us. We'll run right through the highlights. Starting on page 1, obviously, 019, the administrative section. Rentals, You'll notice that went up 30,000. We had a little issue with the trailer company. We're renting office trailers, which we hope to say goodbye to at some point. We're going to build an office building. So we were able to correct that, get the rent down where it should be. They kind of just took a shot at giving us like a 30% increase on trailers that are not really worth that. Legal services, we went up 100,000. The reason so much there is we're heading into a site assignment again. And we're gonna we have to pay for the Board of Health's attorney. We have to pay for our attorney to represent us. And so that gets a little a little pricey. We'll be able to, some of that will come out of the articles for that project.
I'm sorry, Dan, what was it called? A site assessment?
Site assignment,
Assignment.
it's the last step in the permitting process.
Okay.
And we have to get in front of the Board of Health, and they basically review the entire site, so tough sled for them and tough one for us as well. We just went through it about 2 years ago, so everybody's ready to go. We took data processing up $7,000. We had some issues there with, not issues, but we were paying out of the operating budget, part of the recording equipment that goes on the Packers, which Marlene is adeptly transferred over to the admin fee. We try to keep this as straight as we can. This has to do with operations in the landfill, and then admin picks up the other stuff. So that was a good thing for us.
So it's an increase of 7,000,
Yes.
but it's a good thing for us.
We took it up 7,000 in case we couldn't get the company to come around to rearrange the contract. They actually billed us. They stopped billing us. We thought that it had gone away. Then all of a sudden, at the end of the year, we got a $20,000 bill at the end of the year, right when you need it. So we talked to those. We got them straightened out. Matt Sawicki and Marlene and the group. Erica was involved with that as well. Got that straightened out. So it's going over to the admin fee again to keep that costing in the admin fee and keep it out of our operating budget.
Okay.
Next on the list is not as big a one, but that's just ISWIM dues. That's just a reflection of the facility getting bigger. Next is the engineering, went up 25,000. Again, that's for the development of the 12-acre parcel and the site assignment. We anticipate Horsley and Witten finishing up their work on the Division of Fish and Wildlife Materials, as well as our internal folks, or I'm sorry, our engineer of record working on the plot. Hazardous waste, you'll see, went up $10,000. That's about a 30% increase. The county runs that for us, and Calliope Shute, who just retired, unfortunately, she was fantastic. She told me flat out, you're going up 30%. So it's just, the cost of doing business. It's a fantastic service. I think it's a good one to fund. Otherwise, where does it end up? Down the drain or wherever. So works out very well.
This is the waste collection days?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah,
Yep,
okay.
absolutely. And as well as what we take in at the drop-off center. Occasionally, we get some stuff. You'll notice we have hazmat sheds,
Yes.
and we have those folks come in and clean that out. Next, we have, you'll notice again, the salaries dropping as you go through there. That's a result of moving people around and also the retirement of the two gentlemen that I spoke of earlier. We looked at account 5430, operational expenses. We anticipate and are seeing already a lot more activity. We're very happy. We're running all of our equipment. You'll see our iron moving just about every day, almost every piece. So that drives up our operational costs, maintenance, fixing welding rods and supplies we need to keep that stuff moving. And the other ones are pretty insignificant on that page. And that's just about it. I will mention, and I'm sure there'll be some questions, but the lion's share of our, it's a little bit deceiving, you know, some folks looked at it and kind of chuckled, but, you know, our total expenditure budget only went up 1.3%. But as you guys all well remember, that's due to the 2.3 million we pumped into the facility at the fall town meeting to get FY25 up to where it needs to be and reflect the cost of leachate removal and demolition has picked up. So we had to put some money back into that. And that's about it. You guys have any questions?
Anyone have any questions? Could you go over, for those of us who forget, the, how the host community fee is determined?
Absolutely. And Marlene and I Eric and I were just talking about that today. What happens, it started back, and I'm showing my age, I came here in 1985, it was already a year or two into the books. It's a law, basically, that private landfills in communities, not transfer stations, in communities have to pay that community a fee. It started out at $1 in 1980, and it escalates at BCPI every year. It runs from October to September of the following year. For those of you who look at the Bureau of Labor Statistics stuff, which we do, which I don't know, probably not the best thing to look at, but it reports in October. That October number then gets translated to January, and that's when it goes up. Every January it goes up by that rate. Right now it's at 436, and it gets charged for it. What it applies to is probably a good thing to talk about. It really applies only to things that are disposed of in the landfill. As towns do have the ability and the right to charge other things if they so accept it, if it's accepted by both parties. You can imagine what a debate this is if somebody's running a transfer station. Why can't a town get reimbursed for that? A lot of it has to do with the town's willingness to put up with that when you're talking about private contractors as well as the people of the town of Bourne. It was a result of special legislation, 1998. 2000, I was close. As you know, towns aren't allowed to tax themselves. This is considered a tax. So Bourne had to go through, I think Tom Cahara kicked in on that. I wasn't around at that point. But the legislature voted and agreed to allow town of Bourne to tax itself. So that's a good thing. That's a good thing. Works out really well. Any other questions on that one?
So it depends on the rate of inflation and also the volume of material that's.
Absolutely. The volume of what comes in, for sure.
So,
That was one good
yeah,
thing.
but it's the weight, not the volume.
Tonnage.
No, I'm sorry.
It's tonnage, not volume.
Done by the ton. Absolutely.
Thank you. Any questions about ISWIM? Nope. All right, thank you.
Any
Dan
questions?
needs to do his capital.
Oh, yes, yes.
I was gonna say, any questions on the capital? Catch me
Capital's
before-
in tab 3.
Might as well start out right away. As a lot of you know, we're in the process, now that we've established our final footprint at the landfill, we can't expand any further. We can locate a permanent office. We hope to build a structure that will last, we don't hope to, we're building a structure that will last 30 years, well beyond the life of the landfill. Also included, not in this expense, but not too far behind it, will be a transfer station. That transfer station we're building with the 30-year plan in mind. In other words, when the landfill closes in 20 years, ISWIM will be able to continue to offer that service for Upper Cape towns to dump and move MSW, C&D, whatever we're able to move through that transfer station. Focusing on the building, one of the reasons we need that quickly is, as most of you know, we have a 40-foot vertical expansion going on the existing landfill right now. That will last us another 4.5 years roughly. What you may not realize is that where our offices are sitting is the next phase, and it has to be expanded horizontally. We're going to have to move between 250 and 300,000 yards of material. It's going to take us about a year to do that. We've done it before. We did it in the old Phase 1D landfill. We did it where the DPW building is sitting now. So we're quite capable of doing it, and we're looking forward to it, but we're losing time. It takes time no matter who does it. So we're moving right along with that. I know Asa Mintz, the operations manager, is taking the lead on that. He's doing a fantastic job. Mr. Joyce is good enough to join the committee. I've been around a long time. I've been on some successful committees and some not so successful committees and projects, but I think this group is, in my mind, sitting back and watching it go. Group of people that are varied backgrounds. We got architects, engineers, business people, and everybody is not afraid to speak their mind, and that's what's key to those groups. It's done constructively, and those guys move, as Tom will tell you. There's not a lot of dust on that group. When they meet, they do what they need to do and get it done. So it's really fun to watch. I'm kind of getting older, so I'm just sitting back and letting it go. I can certainly add my input when I need to, but so far it's going great. Any questions on that? On the building, we'll be before you in the spring, asking for funding. And again, just to kind of keep your eyes from not dropping out of your head, we'll be short behind that for a transfer station.
So why don't you say how much we're asking for?
Well, it's funny. And again, I'll say this, I'm not just saying it, but the past administrations and the finance people have really worked with our group. It's always bothered me since I came here out of private industry, the debt we carried. There was no need for it. We had cash on hand. So over the last 4 to 5 years, we've bought the debt down. That entire facility, the land, think about the equipment, the cost of the value of the equipment up there. Our long-term debt right now is under $3 million. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. So that being said, we've enjoyed that for the last couple of years by buying down that debt. Our payments have gone down. We've been able to put money back into the facility. We're kind of pigeonholing that money because we're about to jump back into the pond, which we don't really want to do, but it is what it is. Marlene and Erica and Liz are working on financing options for how we want to do it. What do we think we can do? We're currently negotiating with CMAS to re-up that contract. We'll see how that goes, and then we'll be able to have a better handle on predicting our revenue. Either way, the market is pretty good for us, no matter what happens. As a lot of you know, there's a solid waste capacity shortage, and about another 10 or 15 years, we could very well be the last man standing. We could be the last landfill standing. So good thing for us to be able to handle that excess capacity. We're not really afraid of not having anything to put in the ground. Let's put it that way. I'm sorry, Marlene, I danced all the way around.
Yep, you did.
My best. You're still looking at me, so I got to say it. Now, we're looking at about $25 million. We got to replace the garage. I know we sat back and looked at it. The DPW garage was only $13 million, and it wasn't that long ago. But you look at the cost of building, it's absolutely incredible, absolutely incredible. So we're putting together a financing sheet along with our projected revenues, projected expenses, and see where we land so we can stay viable for you guys. Any questions on that one?
So if we borrow, is all that payment come out of the enterprise fund? It's sort of self-contained? But the
Yes.
town would back it up in case there was some disaster?
Yes, it's backed by the full faith and credit of the town of Bourne, but it will be financed as enterprise fund debt. So just like Dan's going to talk about some other projects, the enterprise fund is self-supporting, and that includes they're supporting their debt as well.
Thank you.
Okay, on to the next one.
There's some
Tom
questions.
has a
Sorry,
question.
Dan.
Oh, I'm sorry, Tom.
I have to say, that doesn't sound bad to me when we look at $2.5 million for the police department station roof, just for the roof.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, you know, as I always say, we got a great
That wasn't a
crew up there.
sarcastic remark.
No,
That was
no, I
just-
know
that's-
it's not-
That's
no.
just fact.
It just scares us, you know? But it doesn't scare us. I mean, we know we can do it, but it's just, it's amazing what the rising costs. The garage, as you guys know, you've been up there, it was built in 1967. Our guys are out laying in the snow, fixing bulldozer tracks because they don't fit in the building, and it's just tough. So it'll be good to get those guys inside into a better facility with better ventilation, overhead cranes, truck lifts, all things that they currently don't have. The offices, we're gonna for the first time in a long time, I'll have a permanent place. I've been doing this 40 years. I've never had a permanent office. I've always been in a trailer. So we're looking forward to it. The boys are looking forward to it. The folks in the office, Paul and Jane, are looking forward to it, so it should be good.
So it's going to be a giant garage with offices attached to it?
Correct. We're
Just
st-
one building?
Correct.
One
We're
building.
still working on the design, but
One
it'll
building.
appear as one building, but it'll be separate. But they'll be right together. And then the transfer station will go off to the northeast of that. At least as the plans go now. We're still working on it. The next project will be the first part of capping Phase 9. Phase 9 is divided into 6 sections. Right now, we're going to cap part of Phase 2 and most of Phase 1 in Phase 9, Section 1 and 2. It's going to cost $1.85 million to do. The good news is that that's money already set aside. We have to put that aside every year for areas that are open that need to be capped. We have to provide a financial assurance mechanism to get our permits from the state before we even start. Good news is, again, because of our thriftiness and the quickness of our finance people, we were able to combine. You have to, I don't want to go down a rabbit hole here, but when we build a slope, we lay up against it. But until we close, we have to carry the expense of capping it in case something goes wrong. You got to have that money set aside. As soon as we get the extension for the next phase, it lays over top, that money goes into the bank. I think we closed part of Phase 6, we closed part of Phase 4, Stage 2, and wound them, all those capping, that excess money, into Phase 9. Another thing that you don't often see is you don't see those payments coming out of our budget. We have to pay post-closure accounts. So we were able to pay for all of Phase 9 out of closing the rest of those accounts and getting them into that fund. It was a huge hit for us to be able to do that. So we're not dumping $1.2 to $1.5 to $1.6 million into closing a section of the landfill. It's already done. So again, we're taking advantage of that opportunity as well. Any questions on that one? Then we get to the easy stuff, I guess. 30-ton hydraulic excavator. It's a size bigger than we have 2 excavators working. This one's a size bigger because of the volume of soils and material that we're going to have to move once we get into construction and start moving. We're getting bigger. Facility's getting bigger. The operation's getting bigger. So it's the next size bigger. And then our roll-off truck, the white roll-off truck you see driving through town, that's actually 10 years old. The one that we run in the site right now, I've been here 24 years. I think it's 26 years old. It was purchased in 1999, and we do what we can to keep it going, but it's time. So we'll move the 10-year-old one down to be a site truck. It'll still be registered and it'll be roadworthy, but it'll be the site truck, and we'll get a new one to move materials around town. Right now, mattresses are big. We can save quite a bit of money by hauling them ourselves, so you'll see that going through town every day with mattresses to the recycling facility. So, valuable piece of equipment. So if you add it up, I mean, our capital ask this year is 27,650,000, and then we got another 439,000 because we pay for the recycling trucks for the DPW to do the curbside collection. They pay for the trash packers, we pay for the recycling trucks. So that's working out well. That's all I got.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Sorry, can I ask, the 25 million, how long do you think it will take to pay that back?
Interesting question. I mean, the way I was brought up, and I kind of bring this with me from the private sector, I like to write things off while that revenue source is still running. We're looking at close to 20 years for the entire expansion to keep running. So that building, we'll try to write it off over 20 years if it's reasonable to do that, if that answers your question.
It does, thank you. 20 year.
20 year.
20 year.
Building, we're projecting a 30 to 50 year life. I mean, we worst case scenario, if ISWIM doesn't exist anymore, it should with the transfer station, but if it didn't, then the town has a building paid for by an enterprise fund to do whatever it wants with. Move whatever department you want, store whatever you want. So it's not a bad investment.
And what's the revenue that the ISWM has per year?
Gross revenue, right now?
Yeah, just a gross revenue, yeah.
It's about
that's
18 million.
18 million a year.
About 14 million in expenditures, which went up a little bit. So we have to come to grips with that,
And expenditures are 14 million, okay.
roughly. It's gonna be close to probably 15 and a half, maybe 16.
Okay. So paying $1 million a year seems pretty feasible then.
It does, but again, we have to watch out for the post-closure accounts. Those have to be fulfilled.
Maintain, yeah.
Exactly. And, other ancillary, in fact, ASA, I conned him into working up a sheet. I had a 30-year spreadsheet to track our capital expenses, which means our capital projects as well as our equipment and our expenses. So he got into it. I'd like to see him get into it a little bit, and Marlene's.
We don't con anybody into doing anything.
Sure we do. He'd rather be out running the bulldozer, you know that.
That is
But,
more fun, yeah.
Yes, they don't let me out there anymore. I don't know why. But, so he's done a fantastic job of tracking that along that sheet. But it was a good instrument for us because now, especially him, he gets to see what goes into that projection. He looks at me like, why are you so nervous? I said, you'll find out.
Yeah.
But
It's a big ask. Okay.
anyways, that's how we come about it.
Thank you. Any more questions, comments? Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. Thanks for hearing us. Have a good night.
Thanks, Dan.
Thank you.
All right, now, non-departmental budgets and shared costs.
Yes, thank you. So in your packet, I included a sheet that split these budgets up with those that have $0 changes and those that have increases. So I think if it's all right with you, I'd like to just run through those two categories. And then if there's any specific budgets that we want to discuss in detail, we can pull those out and talk about them. Is that all right?
Yes.
Okay, so for the non-departmental budgets that are level funded, so no dollar change, those are town reports, town meeting, select board, legal, Buzzards Bay Action Committee, telephones, gnat fly control,
What?
gnat fly control.
Like the bug net?
Yes.
Museums.
Okay. Gnat fly
Midges.
control. Everybody's got their own word for it. Yeah, okay. Sorry.
That's okay. Snow and ice, street and traffic lights, visiting nurses association, historical commission, archives committee, unemployment insurance, and the LiUNA pension fund. So those are all budgets that I'm not recommending any change to dollar-wise. Any questions on those?
Snow and ice is the one thing we're allowed to have a deficit in, right?
Yes.
If we were, where does that money come from? Let's say it started snowing between now and April. How do you get the money in the short term? From the reserve fund or?
No, so we are allowed to deficit spend, so we can just spend into the red. And it is raised on the recap sheet, so that means that deficit has to be paid before we can do anything else in the future. But it's, I think it's the only one we're allowed to deficit spend, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
for the most part.
Yeah.
So it would be incorporated into the next year's tax bill, essentially.
Okay,
Yeah.
thanks.
And the way Bourne budgets for snow and ice removal is we take a rolling average of the previous 5 years. And as long as that, we either use that number, the average of the rolling 5 years, or the 338,000, whichever is higher. The other unique thing about snow and ice is that it's not a budget that we're allowed to lower. So we fund it at 338. We cannot recommend, I couldn't recommend budgeting it at 200,000 to free up money. And that safeguard, I guess, is in place because you are allowed to deficit spend.
That's even if there's no snow.
That's even if there's no snow. Yes.
I knew that, but I just had to ask.
Yes, yes. So that's I think that's also the only budget that we're not allowed to ever kind of go down on.
It's not uncommon for communities to deliberately under budget that, even though it's not recommended, and they always just raise it on the recap. We don't have to raise it on the recap because we budget adequately.
Yeah, yeah. This is a much better way to do it rather than raising it on the recap. We're planning on having some sort of winter.
Okay, thanks.
And then the non-departmental budgets that I am requesting increases for, we're creating a new non-departmental budget line for interpretation and translation services, and asking for $8,000 for that. So we have an obligation that if someone needs American Sign Language interpreter, or if we need to hire some sort of interpreter, that we have funds available to do that. And this is something that we have been consistently doing and paying for, and departments have had to kind of scrape the money together. But this year I'm recommending that we actually budget for it in the operating budget.
Is that a contracted service, or is that a full-time employee?
No. It's a contracted
Okay.
service, yes. We're not hiring anyone to do that.
Okay,
It depends on what's needed, the language or the service that's needed.
gotcha, thank you.
I'm asking to increase the independent audit budget by $4,000. I'm requesting an $8,000 for the postage and copy machine budget. And that is really to account for additional cost of postage. That's where the increase is going.
Is that for when people buy things online? Like if I bought a beach sticker or if I renewed my dog license through the mail, you're mailing it back? Is that what that's for, or is that for something else?
I think I can't remember if we collect postage, but it's really for like the street list and sending out the not sewer bills, because that's enterprise, sorry.
Real estate tax bills, personal property,
yeah,
motor
tax
vehicles.
bills.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Those are the big ones.
Yep.
And the one right before that was increasing the independent budget,
The
independent
audit.
audit budget.
Yes, yeah. And we're just anticipating a small increase because the cost of the audit services is likely to go up.
Okay.
I'm requesting an additional $25,000 for vehicle fuel. And this is all vehicle fuel, both town and school side. So just anticipating increased gasoline and diesel costs. A small $500 increase for the Special Workshop Opportunity Program. An increase of $138,230 for public utilities. And this is mostly for anticipated increase for electricity, especially on the delivery side of our bill. So we have long-term contracts for the generation side of our electricity bill. So that is pretty stable and known, but just like all of us with our personal electricity bills, the delivery charge is really kind of uncontrolled, and we're not able to enter into contracts for delivery. An additional $60,000 for FICA. An additional $745,000 for group health insurance. And that is comprised of an expected rate increase for next fiscal year of 1.5%. We are also in the second year of catching this budget up. We're doing a 2-year catch up to account for shifted costs due to MedX and Medicare RX plans for retirees. The laws have changed so that there's a much lower out-of-pocket maximum. I think the previous out-of-pocket maximum was $8,000 and it went to $6,000 for the individual. So the town side of the plan makes up that difference. So we're budgeting for that. And we're also budgeting for additional funds to carry more family plans. We're seeing over the past couple of years a shift in employees choosing family plans. And we always kind of assumed that there would be a certain number that would choose family plans instead of individual plans, but we're seeing that balance move much harder towards family plans. So we're budgeting for that as well.
So for the part that's for retirees, would that come out of a OPEB fund, if we had OPEB funds someday, that was pay as we go? Or?
No, so the group health insurance, we budget for all of we budget for the existing.
Yep, so we're budgeting for the pay-as-you-go costs for active employees and retirees of Barnstable County Retirement. This does not include teachers because they transfer to the state's plan, the Group Insurance Commission.
Yeah. So it's it's a little, the OPEB liability, I mean, the OPEB liability is, it's a little bit confusing, but this is our pay-as-you-go portion of that. So we're doing it, we're doing this, so we're not adding to our liability.
Okay.
And in the future, if for some reason we were more than fully funded, we could use the OPEB trust fund to pay for the retiree health insurance.
Thank you.
If we ever get to fully funded. When? Our assessment for Barnstable County retirement has gone up, and we're budgeting an additional $77,163 for that. A small increase of $1,108 for a special legislation retirement. That's in the budget. $98,188 for property and liability insurance. And that is roughly we're holding a 5% increase there, which is typically what we have been experiencing in the market. And then an additional budget, an additional $2,000 budgeted in the Medicaid reimbursement line.
Who do we reimburse for Medicaid?
I'm going to ask Erica to.
Those are administrative fees for processing claims, so we coordinate with the school and split the bill, but a third party processes those claims for us.
Thank-
Did I hear you say that the increase for the county was 77,000?
Yes. Yes,
And
for
wh-
county retirement.
Oh, county retirement.
The county retirement
All right.
assessment.
And what is our annual assessment for the county?
It's for the retirement board?
No,
Oh,
for operating fee.
on the cherry sheet?
Well, we have to pay a certain percentage to the county so that they can cover their bills, correct? Every town pays a certain percentage.
The county tax,
Yeah.
those, I'll have to get you that number specifically. Those are part of on the tax rate recap. That
Okay.
money is raised,
All right.
included there. I think we budgeted.
I'm curious as to what our contribution is.
To the county or just for the
Is that on
retirement
the
fund?
sources and
To the
uses?
county.
To the county.
I can't remember.
Let me look into that and get back to you, because we have a Cape Cod Commission tax that we raise in the recap, and part of that is the Cape and Islands protection, and part of that is the county tax.
Okay.
So combined, we're budgeting 221,000, but that's on top of the regular 2.5% increase that we're allowed for the levy.
Okay.
That's something we can look into.
Mm-hmm.
That is not the 77,000. The 77,000 is the increased assessment for the retirement board.
All right, thank you.
And then the last group I'd like to run through are the departmental budgets that with minimal changes. And same as last time, all of the CBAs are still open, so as CBAs close before town meeting and these budgets for salaries are finalized, we'll come back with the budget adjustments. So we'll come back to you with the adjusted numbers. But for right now, the only change to the HR department is a contractual salary increase. The only change to the IT department is an additional $4,785 for subscription services and consultants. So we have a number of contracts where we have software platforms that we buy through subscription, and those generally have an escalator built into them. The Conservation Commission department is for contractual salaries only, so those are steps. The Planning Department, again, contractual salary steps only, plus a $200 increase in their advertising budget. Engineering is the contractual salary steps plus $400 for increased survey equipment. The health department is contractual salary plus $680 for contracted services, and that is to cover the increase in the costs for the pond monitoring that we do with APCC for cyanobacteria blooms in the ponds. Council on Aging is contractual salary plus $200 increase in their meetings line. Recreation is contractual salary plus a $20 increase in their dues line. And then the Veterans Services Office is a contractual salary increase only.
Thanks.
A quick question on the Recreation Department. We gave them money last year to do a survey. Is that money now rolled over into their budget?
No, so the feasibility study?
Yes, yeah, which is, they're doing an excellent job. I see the signs everywhere, which is great.
So that was a capital request.
It's a capital request.
Yep,
Okay.
and it was a CPC article. So, money, that is not in their operating budget. So that money that are in capital articles or CPC articles roll from year to year. They're multi-year, they don't close out at the end of the year. But they are not in
Their operating budget.
They're
Okay,
not
I
in
didn't
their
realize
op-
it was a capital expense. Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Good.
All right, thank you. That's a lot of information. And it's good to see so many items with no change. or minimal change.
Well, we want to budget appropriately. We want to anticipate the costs that we can, but if we don't have to increase costs, we don't want to.
Any, Erica?
I just had one comment. At last week's meeting, Wayne had a question regarding the police details. I just wanted to confirm that we do collect a $50 cruiser fee in connection with the details for any entity that is not exempt. So like Upper Cape Tech would probably be exempt, and the 10% admin fee. And both of those fees are deposited to the general fund and become part of the town's pooled cash and free cash at the end of the year.
Thank
Is
you.
it $50 per hour or $50 per event?
It's
Believe
$50
it's per
per
event.
detail.
Per detail, wow, that's a good deal.
Plus the 10% admin fee.
Well, he was saying last week there was $50 for the first 4 hours and $100 for an 8-hour day. So I was curious as to how much we were collecting on that cruiser fee. And, I mean, in essence, is it used towards the purchase of new cars?
No,
No, it just goes to the general fund.
General fund.
general fund.
Last year, we collected $19,900 in cruiser fees, and in the administrative fees, $27,908. So just under 50 grand for both combined.
Thank you.
Thanks. Okay,
And I'm sorry, at this point, we don't have any proposed budget adjustments yet.
so that's it? for
That's it.
That part? All right, we don't have any minutes.
I didn't see any come through.
No, yeah. Okay, next meeting, you think March 7th, March 10th? 17th. Okay,
That's what's on our agenda.
wait, did you just make a motion to adjourn?
No, but I will.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Say March 10th?
You're gonna be on the Cayman Islands?
Close. I'll be here for that one.
Good. We don't know when hybrid meetings will be allowed, right?
I don't know yet. I'll get them back as soon as I can.
Thank you.
Hybrid meeting mean?
Some people are remote and some are here. All right, so Amanda made a motion
To adjourn, yes.
Second.
Second by Wayne. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Noes? All right, thank you.